Dr. J.D. Pendleton with my husband, Dr. John Pendleton. Right, we're back with how to survive almost any situation that you could possibly find you and your family in, and how being prepared, how preparation itself is key to you and your family's survival. It's key. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. And our husband here, he is not only a Dr. Pendleton, he's also he's been a nurse, he's been a lab technician, well, he's been a lab technician, then a nurse, he's been a surgeon, he has taught mass casualty medicine in Balad, Iraq, and he has seen a lot. And of course I have my degree is in criminology and in police science, so, but I ended up building a lot of houses instead. I didn't find that, I really liked my career until I got doing it, and then I realized that I just liked being outside in a much happier environment. So I started building houses. So we have a lot to bring you. I have a lot of food store videos. Anybody who has already been a member, subscribed to me for a long time here, or even recently, you know I have a lot of prepper type videos, from canning to dehydrating to all kinds of food stores and supply stores. So I want to thank Valley Food Storage for their support of our channel, and if you want to head on over to Valley Food Storage, that's Valley Food Storage, I'll put their link below in the show more column, and we'll let you know. We're doing a lot of reviews this week on their food. They are our new sponsor, and we just want to bring the attention to the fact that it is a lot easier, isn't it, John?
It is.
To just open a Mylar package and somebody's already got it done for you. The food is good up to 25 years. Food store, that's long term. There's short term, medium term, and long term food storage, and that would be considered long term. So they do it right. And there are other companies as well, but we really enjoyed their food, so that's why we decided to collaborate with them on some of their foods and food storage. So it's just a lot easier than having to dehydrate all your garden, doing all of that work. It's so much easier sometimes just to buy it, store it in some buckets, and be done with it. Okay? This video is about how, the steps you need to take to survive in a very sticky, scary situation, and how not to be surprised by it. And most professionals will tell you that teach this type of class, preparation is key.
It's key.
It's key. Okay, so let's start with this. Today's title, we're gonna start out all over again about prepping for emergency situations. So the first point we'll make is, and we're gonna title this, to be ready for disaster. How do you get ready for disaster? So this is the video that you've all been asking for. I'm bringing it to you, honey. These videos are going to be designed for all family members, okay? And how to make a plan for your family, for your most likely scenario in your area. So grab a pen and a paper, and we're going to get started, right? Let's just touch up on some of the scenarios that might be most likely in your area, because that's what you need to figure out first and foremost. You can't figure out your plan of attack. You can't figure your plan of attack or how to get your family to safety if you don't know your most likely scenarios. And you can't practice for everything, right? And by the way, my puppy's down here at my feet with a bone, so if you hear crunching again in this video, it's keeping her calm and quiet. We do have a Siberian Husky. So first, let's talk about hurricanes. If you live in a hurricane area, like my daughter lives down in Houston, and she's had to prep for hurricanes several times in the last 2 years that she's been down there. And she says it's not as scary as the tornadoes that we've experienced up here in Indiana. And I'm like, well, when one hits you, you will know it. But so let's talk about hurricanes just briefly. And I just want to give you this statistic. Did you know that a hurricane can wipe out and entirely put nearly an entire state, and beyond into other states, into homelessness overnight? You can put an entire city, a state, multiple cities, multi-estates, and areas along the coastline. You can put all those people into homelessness overnight. Now, the nice thing about hurricanes, like Hurricane Sandy and different things, is hurricanes have pre-warnings. You don't get that kind of time all the time with a tornado, and you don't get that kind of time all the time with maybe even with a volcano or even with earthquakes. or even tsunamis. Usually tsunamis will follow an earthquake. So we know by our situation that we're most likely to be in, we can count that kind of time in our plan. So keep that in mind. Tsunamis. Tidal waves usually follow earthquakes, and within hours are known in history record to wipe out hundreds and even thousands of people. And they've been known to take them back out to sea, taking down every home and hotel and business in its path. Those things are replaceable. The lives, therefore, are not. Now let's talk about tornadoes, which is our most likely scenario. They can knock out power grids, they can uproot families, and they can destroy your lives, and sometimes even forever when you have lost loved ones. Earthquakes. We are getting them more and more often. I feel them all the time now. And they are an unforeseen event in most cases. The devastation is just an international news story almost every other month now. I mean, we see it all the time. There's a website online, and I'll put that link below if I can find it again. Hopefully I'll come across it again. And it talks about where you can go and you can actually watch the number of earthquakes that come on every day and how many there is a year. So it has all that information. And I just want to say that we're all prey to nature. You know, we're all game when it comes time to nature. We're her prey. And so if we're in her path or in her fury, watch out. Watch out. I need my teleprompter, don't I? So I don't have to have these notes. I live by my notes. So the question here is that we have is, so how can you prepare for such disasters? And the answer to that is by first making plans. By first making plans. Number one, know the kinds of events that are most likely to happen in your specific area. We just discussed that. 2, think about how you and your family should respond to such scenarios. And make a note on each how person will react, how you kind of guess how each person will react. Is your wife a panicker? You know, does your husband stay really calm in the face of danger? Is he a soldier? What is your background? What can you use in a disaster to help you stay calm? And how will your children react? And how can you help them to be calm? We have a lot of children with different type needs, special needs. So we need to work that into our plans as well. And how will each person handle their responsibilities when it comes time to really needing to? You know, are they taking this as a joke or are they being serious? I mean, there's some fun in preparing. We have a lot of fun hiking and things. So just get your family used to it by taking them hiking and taking them camping and stuff. Get them used to it. Number 3, pick the spot or location that will be the safest for each scenario and practice it often. I'd say probably tornadoes, earthquakes, and nuclear event. It'd be in that order. Those don't give you a lot of time ahead of time. So basically when we practice, we're going to practice whether to bug in or bug out. So that needs to be your next plan of attack. Be sure and label their clothing and their coat, so if something happens and they're at a hospital or maybe somebody get hit in the head. So I mean, you know, some of these things have to work with the school plan, but most likely I think principals and things like that will work with the parents. I mean, the parents do have a final say in a lot of this stuff. So, you know, your plan and where you meet. The school will say, we're going to get them home on the bus. Well, if the buses aren't running and the child is confused on what to do and you're clear in another town at work and maybe it's been a fire and they have to leave the school and their backpack's still inside, they've got no key in the middle of winter to get into your home. So you need to know your neighbors, their phone numbers, and even relatives out of state. Maybe a parent that lives up the road. They need a secondary plan and they need to practice it and feel confident in it. It's the best thing you can do for your child. Remember, a family that practices together survives together, and that's important, especially in these deep sub-temperature colds. Now, I just want to talk to John just briefly here about how many patients have you seen with sub-zero temperature injuries?
I've seen quite a few people with sub-zero temperature injuries or cold injuries. And whether it's hot or cold, a lot of things are secondary to the place you're at. So what would you do, like Janie said, in certain sorts of situations? The first thing is you don't want to be too hot, you don't want to be too cold, so you dress in layers.
Dress in layers.
A lot of people aren't prepared to be outside, and their clothing isn't prepared to be outside. But what would happen if your lights went out? If the power grid went down? So if you turned off your box in the garage or in your apartment, what would you have and what wouldn't you have? So immediately the things that go out are heat, air conditioning, and some form of pumping the water to a usable place. The three things that you need to survive basically is clean water, clean food, clean air, but your environment has to be hospitable for that survival also. So if you're either too cold or too warm in the hot days of summer, if the power grid goes out, your elderly populations and other people that depend upon the air conditioning, even if you're not elderly per se, but you depend upon a cool place to survive, and you've been used to that, you can become a heat casualty very quickly in those situations. So a handheld fan.
You know, one of those little water bottles, the handheld fan that squirts? Yeah, that's a good idea. I have one. Hot flashes.
Yeah, handheld fans, some way to cool yourself down. They make things that can go around your neck and you can kind of keep yourself cool in reference to that. I think you got one for Christmas, didn't you?
Yes, I did, and I'll show that to you on another video. In fact, when I get it made, I'll put that video link right up above our heads here.
So some way to keep yourself cool, but if it's sub-zero today, it's 1 degree or 0 degrees outside, it's very cold, and even your animals can't be out in that kind of cold because a lot of our animals are domesticated and they've lived in the house or they live around the house, and they wouldn't be able to survive in an extremely cold environment. So you'd have to have some sort of shelter and some sort of way to huddle together and to keep yourself warm in that sort of environment.
A secondary source of heat or a secondary source of cooling yourself down.
Yes, you've got to have some way to have potable water, and the Brita water filters and other different filters that you can take water right out of the lakes and streams and other different places around you can be very helpful.
I'll put our Berkey water review up here in this link.
And you've got to have some water. If you don't have water, you're gone already. So clean water, clean food, clean air as best you can, and an environment that supports life. And we live within a range. If it's too hot, you get heat injuries where you die. And I've seen people come close to death because of heat injuries. And then I've also seen people come close to death or losing a member based upon the cold weather. And generally in cold weather, you don't have a complete shutdown, but you have frostbite. Before you have frostbite, you get kind of chilled and your skin is numb, tingling. You can still feel things. That's a good thing because it hasn't gone into frostbite. So when it turns into frostbite, you quit feeling it.
It goes numb, yeah.
It goes numb, and your toes, fingers, ears, eyes, nose, anything on the extreme parts of your body you won't feel them anymore. They don't hurt, but basically they're frozen. And if you don't get some sort of appropriate treatment for that, you could lose an ear, a finger, a toe, or nose, or some other chin part of your body.
So you're saying press in layers, which is very important, and when you bug out, you'll be sure to add layers of clothing to your bug out and your bug in scenarios as well.
Some things you won't normally have around the house in cold weather is a scarf, but this is even better than a scarf because it covers the neck and the back of the neck and the face. And you can keep yourself warm. And then you have like a hat. Overall, dress in layers. And whether it's hot or cold, if you're dressed in layers, it's better. and you should buy your clothes appropriately, just normally, so that in an event of an emergency, you don't have to have a whole new set of clothes that you're getting used to. Get used to dressing in layers.
That's what I was talking about. So it depends on your scenario and your location. So pick a safe spot and a safe location for a meeting spot. For if you're separated, you're at work, your kids are at school, find that meeting spot for your scenario. It could be your home. It could be usually the schools will plan for it. They'll get the kids on the buses and they'll get them home. They're usually pretty good about it, especially depending on the size of your school. Number 4, and this is a good one. Make sure every family member knows that plan, and his or her phone numbers and contacts are memorized. Now, not just in their phone. In case they get separated from their phone, they might have to use another phone or a neighbor's phone or something. Make sure they have the phone numbers memorized, and if they don't, write their names and their phone numbers and sew them into their coats or use a laundry marker. There is nothing wrong with that. Again, my phone numbers and things were always in my extra cash for a phone call was always in my shoe. So, but there was something that happened when I was a little younger that my parents did that for me, and they didn't do that. My sister and I they started having us do that. But there's a reason, okay? There's a reason for that, and we'll get back to that on another video. Remember, there's other scenarios besides just natural events. And very scary scenarios where you get separated from your children. So 5. What some people don't know is how wounded and disoriented children, or how confusion can lead to stumbling blocks in any plan. So again, be sure and write those phone numbers and stuff down. An older person can be disoriented. Somebody that's injured can be in shock from whatever incident. So just be sure and make sure that they are labeled somewhere with phone numbers that they need. Sorry we changed locations because I was cold over there by that wall. I was getting cold and the chairs weren't that comfortable, so I'm tucked in now. So, and again, you have to forgive the furnace kicking off and on. It is sub-zero temps out there for us right now. So this was just a really good time to cover the subject, I think. All right, so number 6, we're on number 6. Keep phone numbers and addresses up to date. So whenever you make your Christmas list or your birthday address list, or when you send cards out, it's a good time to keep your addresses updated as well in your phone and on a piece of paper in your, you should always carry like a little black book, a little address and phone number book with you. And you need to keep this up to date for relatives and even friends who live nearby or in other states. And you advise them in ahead of time of any plans to stay with them temporarily in case of an emergency. Let them know ahead of time and make sure they agree to it. Just don't show up on their doorstep because they may have to prepare with extra food. They may not be that far away and may be experiencing weather difficulties or war situation or volcanic ash or earthquake, whatever. They may be in a situation as well. So they want to be sure to have enough extra food for you on hand. As a matter of fact, John and I, we discussed putting extra food with another family member away from us, so if we have to travel that direction, then we would not be using up any of their food stores. We'd have about 3 days of extra food stores at their house. And I think that that's always a good idea, to get your relatives on board. There's nothing wrong with people being prepared, and I think more and more people are getting involved, aren't they? They're really starting to think about this and know that from past history shows that they can survive something like this. They can survive it by being prepared.
Yes, it's important to prepare. And it's not anti-God or anti-anything. And you can't depend upon your government really to take care of yourself in these situations. There are killers that will kill you in the beginning of the situation if you're not careful. Something may fall on you, you may have an injury, but shock, your approach to it can kill you. So if you're prepared, then you're less likely to experience shock. Clinical shock, even though it may not be deadly as far an injury or something else, scaring yourself or being unprepared can cause a shock state that can actually end up in your death or the death of someone that you love because you didn't prepare. So preparing is important.
All right, so number 7 on our list is try to hole up at home. Try to hole up at your home or your apartment, if you can, in your own personal SHTF situation. SHTF, because we want children watching this, we're going to say this nicely, poop hits the fan. Poop hits the fan. We're saying it nicely. So in your specific SHTF situation, you want to probably most likely hole up at home. Unless it's a tornado and you've got your house wiped off, or if it's a tornado and you don't have some sort of a bunker or some place to go, then you'll probably want to leave the premises ASAP and find a safe place to go. And we're going to discuss each one of these scenarios and what to do in each one of these scenarios, and to be on and how to get back on your feet again in other videos. Right now, we're just touching up on the subject.
If you don't hold up at home, what happens is that everybody else is trying to get out of Dodge. Getting out of Dodge may be a good plan, but if all the roads are flooding up and you can't get out of Dodge, what's your plan to stay and play, or to get out and go? So you have to have some plan where you're at presently, if you can, and that you're not threatened, to stay in the safe environment that you're in.
Now, if you can, you're better off staying at home. If you can, if you feel like that. Okay, number 8. If staying at home is not always the most feasible solution, then you should what, John?
Well, that's why you have to think about your situation and where you are and what's going to happen. The overall, in any emergency, clean food, clean water, clean air, and a safe environment as much as possible.
All right, number 9. Keep home and cars stocked with clean water, clean food, and supplies. For a minimum of 72 hours in your car, you need enough supplies, food and water, and supplies to last you for 72 hours in your car. It's enough time to get you where you need to be, most likely. If it's going to take you a little bit longer, then stock extra for that extra amount of time, and stock the amount per person that they will need. So count the number of persons in your family and take that into consideration, or any friends that might be coming along with you. All right, and it is preferred to have a minimum of 2 weeks of supplies. Okay, that's 14 days minimum of supplies in your home or your camper. Okay, and that should get you not only where you're going, but to be able to stay there for a period of time until you can figure out something else. Now, if you think you're going to be displaced even longer than that, or you're going to be stuck in your home longer than that for your scenario, then you want to put up for that amount of time. But remember, start small and figure it out as you go along. And we're here to help you do that. We're here to help you get started. That's what we're starting to do today. I decided I've got a lot of prepping videos out there, long-term food storage, canning. I got a lot of those videos out there, right down to even surgical supplies and making a homemade enclave. And you can go right here, and I'll put the link up here to my Prepper Series videos, and you can watch them all. But all the questions just were not getting answered in just each of these videos individually. So I decided to take one video and just start from the beginning. Start from the very beginning and then link to the other videos that I have made, or that we have made together. So number 10 on our list, have your bug out bags prepared. Prepare them. They do not have to be expensive. You can use an old book bag that your son had from high school. Maybe you got a new one for college. Use his old book bag. There are ways to find carriers to put emergency supplies in, okay? You don't have to go out and buy anything. You probably have Band-Aids at home. You probably have ways to get some fresh food at home. There's things you can stock, bandages and stuff that you can put. Candles, things like that. Come on, we all have the glass candles, the glass jars. You want to make this bag light, but if it's just going to sit in your car and you don't have to carry it anywhere, then you can put in some supplies that you have. Something is better than nothing.
Well, I think it just needs to become a routine when you go on a trip or when you go someplace, that you're not trying to load yourself down with a lot of extra things, but you carry an extra backpack. Everybody has a bug out bag. Everybody has a little bit, 3-day supply of food or something. And you get that little bit, and as you go places or do things, if you make that a routine, if you see on the news, hey, it's going to rain or there's going to be a hurricane tornado or some other kind of natural disaster, before you get in the car, if normally you take a little extra with you, then when you go that day, it'll become a routine and it won't become an inconvenience.
Well, it's like I was telling you about my daughter in the Texas between the two cities when they had to spend the night. I made her her and her husband, I made them a 72-hour bug-out bag. But it was at home under the bed. It was not even in her car. So she learned her lesson and it's now sitting in her car. She was always telling me, it's in my car, Mom, it's in my car. And then one day she said, well, we didn't have room in the car for all the luggage, so we put it under the bed and put our luggage in the car. But when it came down to it, they never made it to their hotel or to their concert or to the museums and stuff that they were planning on going to. They ended up being halfway in between, and they had clothes. They had plenty of clothes and money, but what good is money if you got no way to buy anything or spend it on? There's nothing there. And if an emergency situation happens, the store shelves will be empty, and they will empty very quickly. And you don't want to have to go out and fight and banter over people, and maybe even get shot or see horrible things and destruction. Just the way people behave in an emergency is an emergency itself. It makes an emergency more dangerous the way people behave. Now sometimes the community will gather together and they'll totally surprise you. Well, not surprising. Christ teaches us as communities to work together with one another. But in other communities we've seen devastation after an emergency, absolute devastation, and robbery and theft and breaking of windows and destruction.
Yeah.
So depends on what you think your town will be, how prepared you think your town is. Clean food, clean water, clean air. These are important. Any kind of medical supplies, and we'll put that video up here, and at the end of the video, we'll put that video up here on actual prepping for medical supplies. We have some really good videos on that as well. Number 11. Plot or plan your escape route. And I think this is very important, and we've done this. And a family plan to get together in an emergency in case you're separated, or even if you're all at home. And if you have to leave, where your meeting place is, and where you will go from there. If you have to leave, where you're hunkered down, where you're holed up. If you have to leave, you will be able to leave quickly, very quickly if you're being attacked. There's martial law for whatever reason, an uprising or civic uprising, whatever occurs, it can occur very quickly or very slowly. You might as well be prepared ahead of time. Would you agree?
Yes. No, if it becomes a normal part of your journey, wherever you go or whatever you do, you have a bug-out bag, you take it to the car with you. And then you'll not be found without when you need it.
Mm-hmm. John carries his backpack with him wherever he goes. And I always call it the man purse. But really, he's got all of his supplies and everything he needs is in that backpack. And if anything happens to us, we have our backpacks with us wherever we go. Even if we're taking the camper out for 2 hours, we still have our bug-out bags with us. And the motorhome makes it easy because having the motorhome stocked and a toilet and a bed and ready to go, we can pick up all the entire family and get the heck out of Dodge. Anytime we want to. That makes it nice. And you can do that on a dime. You really can. There's some really good deals out there. You do not want to go into debt to do this. But if it's for the motorhome and you like to camp, then I definitely suggest, don't get the boat first. Get the motorhome first. Take your family camping. Get them to experience the outdoors and get them used to making plans of camping and how to survive in the wilderness. Get them used to it. Get them hiking. When it comes to natural disasters, you may have to evacuate quickly. Safety is the key. Number 12. At the first sign of trouble, always be aware ahead of time. Meaning monitor your local news stations, your CNN type national radios. The radio is a good source. The CB on your truck, put a CB in your truck or motorhome. Put a CB in your home. Those are really good sources. The truckers will keep you up to date. I promise you that. They know what's going on because they got to get to their routes and they got to get to places. They're trying to cut time off so they can get another load on. That's how they get paid. So they do know what's happening on the roads and the routes, and they tell their buddies, hey, avoid I-62, get rid of it. So these are all a wealth of traffic planning, escape routes. And remember, your escape routes may even change because of the traffic. And here's another little tip. John, here's another little tip. is those little drone planes. Get a small, inexpensive one someday when you can afford it. Put it on your want for Christmas list, maybe from a spouse or something. Maybe buy this for each other. But a little drone plane with a camera on it, you can send one of those up ahead of time, and you can check on the traffic in the bridges off a side road. So you can actually zoom around and see very quietly and secretly what's going on up ahead, or what's going on the other side of the woods. You can kind of see what's going on with a little drone plane. So keep extra batteries or keep those extra chargers with you. And I got tons of extra chargers, don't I, John?
Yeah.
I got 500 hours of charging on some of my chargers. So, plus you have the solar chargers. There's different routes you can go. We're going to discuss all that in one of our next videos. Number 13. Number 13 is plan the fastest, safest way out of the town or out of the city and try to avoid other towns and cities. So taking country routes is definitely your best bet. The more rural, the better. But you want to get the fastest way out of town as well. So that gets you away from whatever's happening. So that's important, especially like a nuclear fallout or a hurricane or something or a flood. You want to move away from that area. 14, always listen to the old timers. Old people and people with experience that have been around a long time in that area, especially that area, your area, ask them the types of disasters they've been in their last 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 and some years of living. And they will give you, remember history always repeats itself, and they'll give you those scenarios. They'll tell you the different floods or hurricanes or tornadoes they lived through. And when they do, they'll tell you all about that area, and you write it down and use their past experiences for the last 100 years and put that down as your most likely scenarios, because that's what your most likely scenario would be. So the next time you go get your hair cut, listen to the old timer that's sitting next to you getting his hair cut, asking questions, and they love to be asked questions. Especially for the depression folks who've been through the depression. They can tell you how to make anything from depression cake to how to jumpstart your car. I mean, they know things.
That's true.
How to get a little moonshine out back. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, number 15. Rely on yourself when disaster strikes. Rely on yourself when disaster strikes. Because the authorities and the government won't be there to rely on. They're going to be way too busy. Stores will be closed or they'll be sold out. And they'll sell out and they'll be closed pretty quickly. So prepare in advance. We just discussed that. Store necessities can save lives. So store necessities. And I like to say this, it's famous from Anne of Green Gables. You're never safe from surprises until you're dead. So don't ever think you're safe, because you're not. As long as you're walking and living, you're not. It can happen. And number 17, this is the last one. Don't forget to pack and wear clothes in layers, and you had already covered that. So don't forget to pack and wear clothes in layers. And we did just discuss that with John earlier. And lastly, in wartime, Hitler killed millions and now killed 45 million people in 4 years of his own people because they weren't like him. So, a dictator, wars, tsunamis, tornadoes and earthquakes, volcanoes and nuclear fallout. They can all happen, and they can happen at the last minute. I didn't even mention hurricanes in that, did I? So there's a lot of scenarios. I'm not saying live your life scared. I'm saying live your life prepared for your most likely scenario. And you'll get through it, and your family will get through it. Be a survivor. Disasters can instantaneously turn your comfortable world upside down. There is chaos in this world, and we must choose to live and hold our families from as far from it as possible. But when chaos visits unexpectedly, have your skills honed. Hone your skills and hone your family skills to get out alive. So today, this is our one goal with these videos. Sorry. This is our one goal with our videos. It's to teach you how to hone your skills and survive your most likely SHTF situation. That is our goal with these videos, is to help you survive and for us to survive, and to teach others by our knowledge and by your knowledge, to teach others how to survive in an SHTF situation as well. To help each other hone our skills. That's what this is about. So if you have any information or any way to help others, be sure and leave a comment below. Be sure and share this video. Be sure and join us because we have a lot of discussions and we have a lot more videos coming up. Yes, we do, Lexi. Yes, we do. So up next is how to spot the warning signs of inclement weather. Tornadoes, hurricanes, things like that. That will be up next. We want to thank you for joining us. Be sure and like this video. Hit the thumbs up. Share it. Share the video with others. These are important things to know. And you may not think they're important now, but man, when you need it, you're going to wish it was in your favorites videos. You're going to wish it was there. You're going to wish you had some knowledge on it. You really will. And it is very important. And if you have knowledge to share, be sure and share it below in the comment section. We love you. Go with God and be safe and have a wonderful week ahead. Blessings.
Blessings.